Hey everybody, thanks for clicking in. I'm Matt West, and this is A Live on Facebook Live. And with me today is Andy Swanson from Twitch, who has probably the coolest title in the entire organization. You are Twitch's esports evangelist.
That is correct. I am Twitch's esports evangelist, although CEO is a pretty cool title too.
It's pretty cool.
Yes,
pretty cool, but evangelist is
not
good.
bad. Yeah.
So you've explained it to people before, but for folks who may not have heard your spiel before, tell everybody what an esports evangelist does.
Sure. So as we know, esports is very complicated. It's not as simple as just saying esports and everybody understands it. There's a lot of nuances in between the games that are played, the leagues that are played, the teams that are playing. And for people to fully understand how esports work, we felt like it was important to have somebody out in the marketplace whose job was just to educate. Evangelizing assumes a little bit of rah-rah, which is true, which is talking about all the opportunities that are in the space, but it's a lot of education. So what I do, and we speak on a lot of panels together, is teach brands and marketers and anybody who's wanting to get into the esports space to learn about how does it work. Not only the dollars and cents, but how is it broadcast, who are the players, what are the big games, how it all works so that they can understand in a smart way making decisions on how they can engage in the industry.
So besides speaking on panels and sharing your knowledge and of course your passion and enthusiasm for esports, where else are you having these types of conversations?
Yeah, so my goal is to just sit in front of as many people that want to learn about esports. I mean, my edict is not a number target or anything like that. It's simply go out and speak to as many people that you possibly can. And whether that's in a group setting, in a meeting, or panels or keynotes, just speaking the real truth about what esports is and the opportunities in it to as many people as possible.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to go through the basics of esports here today on A Live, on Facebook Live. We're actually going to kind of dive a little deeper and talk really about what's been going on with Twitch. A lot of cool, exciting stuff where you guys have really in the past year made a really concerted effort to make a shift from being just a platform where you can watch players streaming live or esports tournaments, and moved more to kind of a producer role.
Yeah.
So the Rocket League Championship Series, the qualifiers, of course, just ended a few days ago. I got the finals coming up here in August.
Yep.
In LA.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that partnership.
Yeah, so one of the things that we realized, Twitch as a platform really grew out of an esports excitement, knowledge, opportunity, and really changed the way the company pivoted from Justin TV and the Twitch that we know today. But one of the things that we did notice was that certain companies, certain publishers needed help with how do we do this with esports. We think we've got something. We've got a great community. We've got a game that we think is going to be very fun to watch people compete in. But we're game producers, we're not esports experts, and we need some expertise on how the league should be run. How can we be most efficient with it? How do we get the teams playing? What should the brackets look like? What should the prize pool be year one? So we've got an esports team at Twitch that their job is to really go out into the space and evaluate and talk with game publishers about their esports aspirations, right? And really give them tips and help them. And in some certain cases, in the case of Rocket League and Bangalore that we'll talk about, or for the third year now with Capcom Pro Tour, we've actually worked with the game publishers to produce their league. So Rocket League, as came out of nowhere from these great developers down in San Diego, Psyonix, that created this wonderful game where you drive a rocket-powered car in a huge stadium, basically with a ginormous soccer ball, and you try to score goals.
Or a hockey puck.
Or a basketball.
Yes,
there are variations, yes.
You really want to get skillful with it.
Correct. And, as a small dev team, they didn't have the bandwidth to focus on the esports side element. So they wanted to work with us to create a league. We saw the potential in it. And you'll see with a lot of the leagues that we work with in this particular role, they are at a stage where they want help in determining this stuff. So we saw Rocket League. If you've ever get Rocket League, anybody can play it. You pick up a controller, we were talking about this earlier, automatically you can play the game. As the viewer, automatically people understand what's going on, around. And as a brand, you think, I understand what's happening here. And it's in a great arena sports environment, very family friendly. It's an E for everyone title.
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense. And so we thought, let's work with these guys and create a league that can really capture this passion, this lightning in a bottle across all three platforms, and go to market with it. And so we've got it in North America and European League that are running simultaneously with the worldwide finals.
Now it helps in Rocket League's case that esports is really part of their DNA. It was born into the game from the get-go. Same with Vainglory. Super Evil Megacorp,
Yep.
you have a partnership with them to help expand their esports effort. They've got a new series that's starting up just this week.
Yep.
That's more in the mobile space.
Right.
It's a MOBA.
Yep.
So with a battle arena game that's in the mobile space, but really performing on a platform level like Twitch with your support, how has that program kind of grown and enjoyed success so far?
Well, we're just getting into this season is now our first official one that you mentioned that's coming up. But Super Evil Megacorp has done a really great job with that title. They've been out talking about it and evangelizing it. I run into those guys a lot, and really talking about why it's a perfect game for both esports and on mobile devices. And I think their development, they've done a really, really good job with nailing that. And that brings up a different kind of consumer. So the mobile consumer, the mobile gameplay, shorter session times, a little bit simpler in its controls and the depth of the game, but also allows for a little bit more accessibility. Also with the mobile device, it's not, you're not on an Xbox, you're not on a high-end PC. Basically anybody that has a tablet or a mobile phone can play it. So that actually brings up a wider market. A little bit of ability to play it anywhere, wherever you are, assuming you've got a strong Wi-Fi or cellular connection. And also a different set of potential brand sponsors, right? So people are on their mobile device with Vainglory, so people that are in the mobile space, whether that's a carrier or whether it's an app store. In the case of this season, the Amazon App Store is a natural sponsor of the season. And so they bring an inherent different consumer as well as different opportunities for brands.
So we're starting to see this trend of really sort of esports for everyone. Psyonix with Rocket League, Vainglory and Super Evil kind of lowering the barrier to entry. Are there still challenges though in putting something like this together and bringing people into the tent?
Yeah, I mean absolutely. I want to give another shout out there to EA and what they're doing with their competitive gaming group, where they're bringing Madden and FIFA and Battlefield into the space as well, and particularly Madden and FIFA, because that is a different kind of game, a sports game, and allowing it to go to the masses. I think the important thing is going to be treating the higher levels, the upper echelon, as a true esport, right? Making sure that you're not going too casual, because when these guys do get to this level, they are doing this for a living, right? In most cases, and that's what we want to do: create a sustainable place where each of these games has an opportunity to create their own esport and have it be sustainable for the long tail of the future. But you also want to bring in, you also have to have an audience, right? You also have to have consumers, and you also have to have people that will play the game and be aspirational about, I want to be able to do that. So by taking different genres and different types of games and really getting behind them, I think we're creating an ecosystem that supports that both community of people that want to watch, as well as that sort of aspirational, I think I want to do this, become a professional. But at the very top, that professional league needs to be a professional league with all the rules that go along with it.
And with a professional league, you've got to have a premium production to go behind it. With a premium production, you've got a premium price tag too. Yeah. So sponsors inevitably end up being a part of the conversation. But we're seeing a lot more of that. You mentioned Amazon App Store, of course, getting behind the Vainglory season here and their competitive stuff on Twitch. Who else is getting involved? What other brands are coming to the table expressing interest?
Interestingly enough, with Rocket League, we actually got the very first, I believe, brand in dollars from ExxonMobil that Twitch has ever seen. So it's actually a company that works in the energy space, because they see it as a natural brand association. Right. We've seen some people that are make tires that are interested in Rocket League. We've seen QSRs, quick serve restaurants, use my lingo, interested in it. Obviously peripherals, so the endemic guys are there as well. We see a Razer as a sponsor of it. But across esports, we're seeing all different categories are coming up, whether it's a Twitch produced league or things like, Counter-Strike. We're seeing on E-League very successful brands being a part of that. So I think we're just opening Pandora's box when it comes to all of the opportunities that are coming out.
So it's still early days with that, and with bringing mainstream sponsors, and you mentioned ExxonMobil coming in. How do those conversations go in the sales cycle? Because it's not a typical media play. It's not a typical sports sponsorship play where they might be more familiar,
right?
Being up against something traditional like NFL or MLB. So what is that conversation like in the sales cycle?
Yeah. So generally the way it starts is somebody at the top has read an article or seen a bunch of billions of dollars of esports or millions of viewers of esports, some big headline that catches them, and they say, I want to get into esports.
They could have read it on AList.
They could have. That is true. That is very true. And so but they don't understand exactly what esports is. I mean, esports is a collection of video games, a variety of video games,
right.
many video games now that are being played competitively, right? So it's not just esports. You've got to understand what game, you've got to understand the viewership, you've got to understand the demographic, you've got to understand the content of the games, because these are video games, so anywhere from E for everyone all the way up to M rated is very important. You've got to understand the timing, because there are different times of the year. You've got to understand the beats and how that matches your brand and what you're trying to do. So there's a lot of complexities that get unraveled in the sales cycle during that sort of discovery. So a lot of what we do with the Twitch media team is go out and educate and really figure out, okay, you want to know about esports. Well, here's what the landscape looks like. Now let's talk about what do you want to do with it, right? Where do you see your brand fitting in? What is your creative campaign that you're trying to tie into it? What is the timing of your major events? Do you have a movie release that ties into a big launch? I mean, there's all kinds of things. But again, it's not just simply buy esports, check. Not that easy.
So we've got mainstream sponsors coming on board the live streaming component of esports, which has been really the traditional platform for it, and certainly Twitch right at the forefront of it. But we're also seeing, too, a lot more mainstream broadcasters getting into the space. This Sunday, ESPN2 is airing 3 hours of the Street Fighter V championships from the EVO tournament, exclusively on their broadcast network. They're not putting it on Watch ESPN, which is typically where they've put their esports content before.
Right.
You guys are the exclusive online broadcast partner.
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about something like that. Like, what's your take on that sort of media partnership?
Sure. So we, as I mentioned, this is the third year of us working with Capcom on the Capcom Pro Tour, and it's been great. We've seen viewership growth year on year, prize pool growth year on year, sponsorships coming in growth year on year. So this is a relatively mature for us in the esports space as far as experiential goes. We know that by going on to linear television, that you're exposing this tour, Capcom Pro Tour, to an audience that generally wouldn't have watched it or ever seen it before. So we know how much we have visitors online and watch streams on Twitch. We really view this is a validation of what we've been doing over the past years. This is an opportunity for people that don't understand esports. The one thing I love about CPT and it being Street Fighter is it's also relatively accessible. People have been playing Street Fighters for generations. It's been in the arcades for dozens of years, and you understand he's fighting him, and that there's a health bar, and the winner gets knocked out, and so it's an accessible game, and now on a more mainstream network. We think it's nothing but an opportunity for our brands and viewers to get exposed to something that I've known has been super successful.
And it's a fairly low risk endeavor too for ESPN, right?
Yeah.
We're in a strange sort of doldrums of traditional sports, right? You've got the Major League Baseball All-Star Weekend happening. There's not a ton of other stuff happening in sports. Easy for them to give up a few hours to experiment with more video game programming and more esports programming on their number 2 network, on the Deuce.
Yeah, I mean, they're smart guys that know their scheduling and know their content, and they know what numbers they need to bring in and know that they want to be interested in the space. So I would assume that their programming here is matching up with the opportunity that it provides. It also is a great opportunity for EVO, which is one of the tournament organizers, the largest fighting game community event in North America, and just exposure for those guys to be on mainstream television, where people know EVO at Twitch have for years. Again, that understanding just that event is part of the esports ecosystem and what it means. is a good thing, I think, across the board.
Yeah. So from low risk endeavor to a high risk, high investment endeavor. Of course, we're halfway through the inaugural season of E-League,
Yep.
the CS:GO partnership between Twitch and Turner.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about how that's going. I know we were together actually the day that it kicked off. The
Yep.
viewership numbers on Twitch were very, very healthy.
Yep.
How's it progressed in your opinion so far? We're halfway through.
So far so good. We're very pleased with the numbers on Twitch. And again, we have a different matrix. We're an online digital platform. They're a TV, network station that there's a little bit of apples and oranges when it comes to what success will be. But we've been very pleased with it. It gets great viewership. It's sort of in a strange slot where it's in the middle of the day. So the fact that it's getting tens of thousands. I mean, almost 100,000 concurrents in some cases in those time slots for us is fabulous. We're really excited about the finals. When they do the big grand finals, and I think just Counter-Strike in general, we've seen a fabulous between our esports championship series that we're running with Face It, between what we just had ESL 1 in Cologne last weekend, as well as E-League. I mean, it just shows that one game can actually sustain multiple leagues.
Have you gotten a lot of feedback from your partners at Turner and your counterparts on that side, on the broadcast side, about how they feel about how things are progressing on the mainstream front, where they're broadcasting basically Friday nights, the sort of wrap up of the week's competition?
Yeah, this is a learning experience for them. I mean, they've never done this before, and so I think that they are, again, another smart organization that's been in traditional sports and in broadcasting for many, many, many years, and knows their business really well. I think they were smart to build out that set that they use for Friday nights, and then also have content during the week, so they can, again, smart usage of the facilities that they've got there. And I've heard nothing but that they've been pleased with it. I mean, they've had great sponsors with Arby's coming on board, Buffalo Wild Wings, which is great because they're now broadcasting esports in the actual restaurants.
It's amazing.
Who'd have thunk that you'd be able to go into a sports bar in essence, and
it's been a dream of mine.
Yeah.
For many years.
Yeah, and it's coming. This is it may be only right now Friday nights, but with it being on ESPN2, a lot of sports bars just put ESPN up. We're going to see Street Fighter in sports bars. It's on its way.
So what else is next? Is there anything that you've been keeping your eye on that the folks who might be watching this should pay attention to next?
Yeah, I think Las Vegas and the role that it's going to play in esports, or just the general interest and enthusiasm we're seeing coming out of the hotels and casinos out in Las Vegas, is really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, esports is an international event. McCarran is one of the largest international airports in the world and can service people coming in from anywhere.
Sure.
But not only that, it's a demographic that Las Vegas is desperately trying to get, which is younger millennials to come to Las Vegas. So they've created fancy restaurants and shows and other diversions that's not just casino based. But now they're really looking to get foot traffic on the casino floors to fill in where the slots are people are no longer playing slots. Right. And we're starting to see a variety of different esports concepts and ideas coming out of there. We've talked a little bit about the possibility about esports gambling in the sports book.
Sure.
Right. That's one facet of it.
There's also there's GameCo, which is really trying to bring in sort of almost like game of skill arcades. Onto the floor where Joe Schmoes like me could play competitively and maybe win some money.
Right.
Okay.
So think of it like poker, like a quick poker match where and you pay $20 to go in, and the winner of the whole thing in the free for all takes the pot.
But esports has been in Vegas before. I mean, we've seen it, right? You've seen in the past other companies, other tournament organizers doing small things in conference rooms and things like that. But we're talking maybe a little bit more premium real estate now.
Yeah, I think with Evo being at Mandalay Bay, which is kind of a step up from where they've ever done it before. I know Blizzard had their Heroes of the Storm event was in Las Vegas. We're starting to see the T-Mobile Arena, which is their sort of 10,000 plus size, potentially hosting majors. And again, as an activity-based space, and trying to get a youth generation that's get them to go there. I think it's interesting. It's also a time where traditional sports have been regulated in Las Vegas very, very much over the years because they didn't want to have conflicts of interest. But with the fact that esports has yet to really find its regulatory agencies or balances and so forth, I think the opportunity for that to maybe go past that quickly is something just interesting to keep an eye on.
So you think we'll see a major esports event at T-Mobile Arena faster than we'll see the NFL in Vegas?
Quite possibly. Given the amount of red tape that's involved with one and the amount of non-red tape that's involved in the other, I think that's quite possible.
Safe bet, folks. All right, so thank you for watching. Andy, thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. It's A-Live on Facebook Live. Hey, if you liked what you watched and you got something out of this conversation, make sure you like it, share it with your friends, and also give the page a like too so that you can keep up on all the latest in games industry, VR, mobile, and of course, esports. I'm Matt West. Thanks for watching.